So we'll officially start it here. So welcome to our second review session for our second exam. Welcome current students, welcome former students, welcome friends. Everybody is welcome. So just a review, make sure everybody knows what you're going to be asked to do on the exam. Now, for those of you who were here for the last review session, or you've already watched the last review session, there is inevitably going to be some overlap. That's okay. Never hurts to hear things again. I'll try to mix up the verbs and mix up the, sentences and things like that. What's up, Tegan? So we're looking at 20 points out of the 50 are translation, and I've got a little practice story we can work on with that. Prep phrases, right? Translating Latin to English, English to Latin. Uh-oh, Dante's here. I'm gonna cut the music, or should I just turn the music down low? You guys tell me. We'll see. Maybe I'll hear it, but you guys won't. Hey, Jenny. So prep phrases, we're translating either English to Latin or Latin to English, a little bit of both. Noun adjective pairs, we'll do a little bit of practice. We don't like super quiet music. All right, that's fine. At some point, I'll get it to actually pipe in through the stream, but it wasn't working for me. Verb charts, we did a lot of practice with those on the last video, so I'm kind of bump those a little bit to the end of the priority list because you have yesterday's review video that you can watch. But if we have time, of course, we'll do as much as we can. And then we definitely are going to look at some active to passive sentences. Okay. So let's start with some noun adjective stuff. So before we even get to pairs, right? Just making sure everybody knows what kinds of nouns you can expect. So for nouns, we can have first, second, and third declension. They're all fair game. Okay, it'll be a little bit of a mix. Obviously masculine, feminine, neuter. Adjectives, the only kind of adjectives that we've done are what we call first and second declension. So essentially your us, kind of adjectives. Love it. You're right there, Rowan. So that's what we've got, right? And you imagine I'm going to try to make as many combinations of those things as possible. Not that there are really that many. So for instance, I could pull a third declension noun, piscator, piscatoris, masculine, a fisherman, right? We have not done unus nauta. We haven't really gotten to pronouns yet, so I usually like to link those two. So piscator, piscatoris, that is a fisherman, right? Oh, you know it, obviously. Third declension noun, and then an adjective, we could say he is, I don't know, he's a wild fisherman. Why not? Ferus, fera, ferum. Savage fisherman. So that's what you're going to get from me, right? You're going to get a noun, first, second, or third declension. You're going to get an adjective that's going to be first and second declension. So when we look at our charts here, right? You can do the noun first, you can do the adjective first. It is entirely up to you. But the adjective is going to depend on the noun, particularly for the noun's gender, right? So the noun is, see how the size is on there, piscator, piscatoris, right? Nominative and genitive, always given to you. You can do a couple different things, right? If you're doing it in a chart, you can fill out the chart. Of course, on the exam, you're not going to have full charts, but we're just practicing here. So dative would be piscatori, accusative, piscatorem, ablative, piscatore. You guys are on it, right? So that's our third declension pattern, whatever the nominative is, and then is, e, m, e. The plural, piscator, ace, piscator, I'm going to go a little faster than you guys, but keep it coming in the chat. Piscator, ibus, piscator, es piscatoribus. Okay? So your noun is your noun, right? The endings, it's all based on the declension. So if you've got a third declension noun, which I know it's third declension because of the is, then it's a third declension noun. And it has to use third declension endings. That's just the way it works. These adjectives, these first and second declension adjectives, we call them that because depending on the gender, you're either going to use first or second declension endings. So piscator is masculine. The way this adjective works is that this is masculine, this is feminine, this is neuter. So because I'm dealing with a masculine noun, I choose the masculine form of the adjective. And as many of you have already put in the chat, this adjective, ferus, is second declension. So ferus, feri, fero, ferum, fero, feri, ferorum, feris, feros, feris. If it were a feminine noun, I would use fera, and it would be fera, ferai, ferai, feram, fera, ferai, ferarum, feris, feras, feris. If it were neuter, I would use ferum, right? And it would be ferum, feri, fero, ferum, fero, fera for neuter plural, ferorum, feris, fera, feris. So these adjectives, which are the only kind of adjectives we know so far, use first and second declension endings. The nouns could be first, second, or third. Of course, on the test, you're not doing the whole chart. So I'm just going to ask you to take these two and make them ablative singular, right? And of course, chart didn't have enough room. So if I ask you to take these and make them ablative singular, then this is all you give me. And if I ask you to make them accusative plural, then this is all you give me. So you're not doing the full chart. You got to have the full chart kind of, at the ready in the brain, but you're not giving me the entire chart. You're just giving me one of those pairs. So the charts are great for practice. You can do them on Magistrala, practice to your heart's content, but on the exam, you're just giving me the one form that I ask for. So third declension neuter. I just want to do a quick third declension neuter pair because I know that people struggle with those a little bit. So let's bump this up to Dante. If you're still here, if you got any excellent third declension neuter nouns that you'd like to share with class. Nominative and accusative are the same. I always like the men adjective or men minus kind of nouns. Dante's probably, hopefully, doing something else. Let's go with we got Carmen. Yeah, we'll go with Carmen. Oh, Kertamen. Oof, that's a beast. Kertamenis. Neuter. This is a contest. That's what kertamen means. Puteal, meaning a stone curb around the mouth of a well. Oh, that's an advanced kertamen word if I've ever seen one. And what adjective should we use to describe this contest? What sort of contest was it? Was it a good contest? Was it a bad contest? Was it a long contest? It was a great contest. Sure. A deathly contest. A contest to the death. We'll say it was great. Okay. So, noun is the noun, is the noun, is the noun. Kertamen, kertamenis. Right? So you've got your nominative and your genitive. Keep doing that. It is a third declension noun because it's a third declension noun. This is tells me that it's third declension. Kertamini. The accusative, however, because it's neuter, one of the rules about neuter nouns, It is also kertamen. Kertameni kind of looks like a passive verb too. I like that. So we go back to kertamen. So just watch out for, neuter nouns, nominative, and accusative being the same. And then kertamine. Nice. And I do think there is a long mark there in kertamen. I'm just being very lazy. Kerto, kertare, yeah. We gotta fly. Okay. The plural. One kertamen, many kertamina. I think the last I for many is long for the verb ending. Kertamina, kertaminum, kertaminibus, kertamina, kertaminibus. So again, with neuters, the ones to watch out for are those nominatives and accusatives because they don't quite follow the pattern. Because this is a neuter noun, I'm going to pair it not with magnus, because that's masculine, not with magna, because that's feminine. No, don't worry about vocatives. We're going to pair it with magnum. And magnum is second declension neuter. Magnum, magni, magno, magnum, magno. See if it auto-corrects me to mango. No? Supelec, soup. I love that word. I'm not sure if it's used in the plural as well. Magna, magnor. I feel like that's like a Catullus word, Dante. I feel like he talks about furniture. Magnis, magna, and magnis. Okay. The noun could also be first or second declension itself, right? So don't sleep on first and second declension nouns as well. Those are possible, but you're definitely going to get first and second declension adjectives. Any other questions about noun adjective pairs? That's pretty much it. All right, it's first, second, and third declension nouns, first and second declension adjectives. Give you guys a moment. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. No fourth and fifth. Yep. No fourth and fifth declension yet. Soon. Very, very soon. As in probably before February vacation. So in the next 2 weeks. When do they learn fourth and fifth declension adjectives, Dante? When you invent them, which I know that you are wont to do, because as of my understanding, they don't exist. All right, so that's noun adjective stuff, right? Pretty simple. Verb charts again. I'm gonna slide those down to the bottom of the priority list. I do want to look over some active and passive sentences. Prep phrases, I want to give you guys kind of the same talk, so to speak. Let me just scroll through these. This is turning into a large document. I just want to review. I talked about the same things on the video yesterday, so I apologize if you're hearing it for the second time, but that's not going to hurt you, right? When it comes to the prep phrases, here's the one thing that you must do. What you must bring to the party. Vocab. You have to know the vocab, which means you have to know what case each preposition goes with. So it's not just enough to know that per means through, and in means in, and extra means outside of, and apud means near. You also have to know whether it goes with the accusative or the ablative. That's just part of it, right? Every vocab entry in Latin always has something, right? Nouns, you got nominative, genitive, and gender. Verbs, you got principal parts. Prepositions, it's the Latin preposition and the case that it goes with. So you have to bring that to the table. I'm not giving that to you. Okay? So you got to come knowing per means through, takes the accusative. Intra takes the accusative, means within. De takes the ablative, means down from or about. That you got to bring all that to the party. If I ask you to go English to Latin, right, you need to take the noun or the adjective, or the noun and the adjective, I should say, and you need to change them to that case. So on the quizzes, I had far too many people when I asked you to do through the night that were giving me per nox. Per nox is nothing, right? A Roman would understand what you're saying, but that wouldn't sound right. It's essentially the equivalent of saying, like, give it to I, or I saw they. Right? People know what you're talking about, but that's not how we do it. So you have to change nox to the accusative. Per noctem, right? If there's an adjective, well, that adjective has to be the same case. If it's through the long night, per nox is a third declension adjective meaning lasting through the night. As one word. Is it a one termination, Dante? Like per noctis would be the genitive? Sweet. Dante, bringing the heat. I love it. As a prep phrase, however, we want to make sure that we decline that noun. So de wir needs to be de wiro, right? Because de goes with the ablative. You do have those situations where a preposition can go with one or the other, right? Go with accusative, go with ablative, just depending on the situation. So in is a big one. Ambulo in urbem, I walk into the city, versus ambulo in urbe, I walk in the city, I'm in the city, I'm just kind of walking around. But for the prep phrase section, there's not really going to be sentences, it's not going to be context, it's just going to be translate the prep phrase. And then, they're all going to be pretty straightforward, Ron. The genitive case will sometimes crash the party in a prep phrase. And so if you have prope templum, near the temple, and then dei is just kind of joining the fun, near the temple of the god, right? It's still near the temple. The genitive is just modifying the temple. Whose temple? The temple of the god. So you could say near the temple of the god, or you could say near the god's temple. If you were going English to Latin, and I gave you this, right, near the god's temple, don't be fooled. Don't put God into the accusative, because it's not near the god, it's near the temple of the god. So just like in English, you have a little bit of wiggle room where that genitive goes. You could say near the god's temple, or you could say near the temple of the god. You could put it at the end. Latin is the same. Absolutely, Sloan. Gods, right? Or in this case, God, apostrophe S. That's the word that's genitive. So you could say prope templum dei, or prope dei templum. It can go in the middle. It can go at the end. Just like here, cum sorore, with the sister. Cum sorore Marci, with Marcus's sister, or with the sister of Marcus. So it's Marcus's sister, which is why he's in the genitive case. Sorore's got to be ablative because cum takes the ablative, with the sister. Then you're giving me more information telling me whose sister it is. That's what the genitive can do. So if I give you a couple of, extra prepositional phrases here, if I wanted you to say something like, I always do this and I'm like completely blank because mainly I've written so many practice ones, I feel like I'm just going to be repeating them over and over again. Inter Montes Altos. It auto-corrected me here. Inter Montes Altos. Yeah, the essentially between the tall mountains. This word is accusative because it's describing the mountains, which are accusative, right? So this is a noun-adjective pair, as opposed to something like Sine amico Juliae. Yeah. Without, not my friend Julia, because those two words aren't the same case. Juliae being in the genitive, without Julia's friend. Or without the friend of Julia. And just like how in English I could switch these around, without the friend of. And friend of Julia just kind of sounds weird in English. I would probably say without Julia's friend. This word could go at the end. It could also go in the middle. Kind of free to move around. A lot of times it'll go in the middle just to keep it compact as a tight little unit. That way you know where the prepositional phrase starts and ends. Or did prope. It's a good preposition. Inter. So many prepositions. And then, try. Domum. Puer. Oops. My God, my spelling right now. There we go. And look at me putting pry. Oh, I'm not even going to use pry. I'm going to say ante. Ante domum. Yeah, pry means the same thing. It just takes the ablative. I don't want to go into the ablative of that word. It's a long conversation. So, in front of the boys' home. Priority. In front of the boy's home, or in front of the home of the boy. Yep. And this is the level of prepositional phrases. I know you were asking yesterday, Rowan, like, are you going to give us, like, difficult prepositional phrases? They don't get really, prepositional phrases don't get difficult. They, by nature, there's not much to them. This is all they are. So this is about as complex as they get. Okay? Sweet. And if it's English to Latin, there's a good chance I'll give you some vocab help. Latin to English, not so much. Unless it's a word that I don't expect you guys to know. And as my former students know, I'm pretty much a softie for when people ask me vocab questions. I usually steer you in the right direction. So, all right, so that's prepositional phrases. Let's get to the sentences, right? So just a recap for people who did not, or have not watched yesterday's, and we'll do some new sentences as well. You're going to be given a Latin sentence, and I want you to do it in the same steps. You asked me about Newham. Oh my God, I don't even remember that. So first thing you want to do is you want to translate your original sentence, right? So frater a sorore protegebatur. The brother was being protected by his sister. Get that down on paper, digitally speaking. Put that in the show your work box. Then take the English and switch it around. So instead of saying the brother was being protected by his sister, the sister protected her brother. And as I've said so many times in class already, you want that target. You want that English target to work towards. That way, when you start building your new sentence, you can say, all right, sister, she's going to be nominative, right, because she's the subject. Protected, right, is going to be third person singular because she protected. So I'm going to put the T on the end of my verb. And then her brother is in the accusative case because he's the direct object. So you always, Latin's a very logical, language. And the more you do it thinking like that, thinking logically, thinking step by step, if you practice that enough times, your brain's just going to do it for you, right? It'll get you from point A to point B. But it's going to be very hard for you to get from here to here on your first try. You have to kind of think through the intermediary steps. please be careful not to just take this ending and flip it to the passive. Because, for instance, in this sentence, discipuli, the students will hear the teacher, or will listen to the teacher. Then when you switch it around, the teacher will be heard, will be listened to by the students. In my original, they are the subject. In my new one, he is the subject. So we can't just take this NT and switch it to NTOR, because they are not the subject anymore. He is the subject. So he, the teacher, will be heard, this is third person singular now, by the students in the ablative case. And then number 3 here is just illustrating the point that there might be extra stuff in there like a prep phrase. Don't let that throw you. Prep phrases are just prep phrases. They don't change. Marcus sees his friend. The friend is seen by Marcus. He sees his friend near the temple. His friend is seen near the temple. Near the temple doesn't change. It's just a little extra information. So Marcus amicum videt becomes amicus videtur a Marco. Marcus sees his friend. The friend is seen by Marcus. And now let's do some new ones. Let's go with I mean, the order I'm going to be pretty loose with, especially when you guys are building a Latin sentence. But typically, the subject goes at the beginning, the verb goes at the end, everything else goes in the middle. That's the basic structure, but I'm not going to hold anybody to particular. The thing I would ask you to do, though, for instance, like a preposition, you want to keep the preposition and the words it's going with together. You don't want to put all the way over here and then discipulis all the way at the end. You want to kind of keep those as a unit. Coquitur. All right, so there's our original. And if you don't remember what sawillum is, we read a whole recipe on it. Yeah, just drop it wherever, Jaden. The cake thing. So we're talking about cheesecake. No, coquo. What do we think the verb coquo means? We're talking about cheesecake. Yeah, you could say baked. It's just the verb cook. That's our coquo, cook. The cheesecake is baked, sure. Cooked. Yeah, by many men, many people. So that's my original, or being. You could throw the being in there too. The cheesecake is being cooked. That works too. English, flip it around. Many men bake cheesecake. Or the cheesecake, if we're talking about one particular cheesecake. Sure. So that's what we're aiming for. So think about this new sentence. Think about your subject. Think about what everything is doing. So many men bake the cheesecake. So they bake the cheesecake. What case are they going to be? Multi-weary, right? They become my nominative. Now, Rowan, I can't have a T on the end of my verb. Jaden, you're very close, but your verb still looks passive to me. And we're not passive anymore. This is active. Those men baked that cheesecake. So I can't use third person singular. I gotta use third person plural. This is a bit worrisome for me. That we can't conjugate this verb in the third person plural. To use, Jaden, but you're right there. Coquant. Yeah, warmer. Getting there. The stem here is coqua, right? So the U comes from the stem, and then we have a U in the ending as well. O is it, imus it is unt. Yeah, you get used to it. It's like the word vacuum. Hey, it's got two U's in it. Cool. No, there's always going to be two if there's a U in the stem. Yeah, for verbs, there's no problem having U. Two U's, double U. Yeah, I was talking about I's. The letter I, you wouldn't have two of those in a row. But two U's? Like that? Yep. And then what case would the cheesecake be? Be accusative. Yeah, equus is another good example. What's the accusative of Sir Willem? Yeah, Sir Willem. It's neuter. Now again, this would be sort of standard Latin, classical Latin word order. If you put coquant and then Sir Willem, all good. Right? We're not worried about that. Let's get some third declension action in there. Actually, let's make it plural. Lex legis. What is a lex? Not a legion. Those are legiones. That word is pretty much the same in Latin. Legio, legionis. These are laws. The laws legislature. Excellent. Pauci is the opposite of multi. Not quite the opposite, but a few. The laws not were written, were read. Yeah. The laws were read, or the laws were being read by a few senators. So there's my original. The laws, subject, were being read, verbs all the way at the end, and then everything else is in the middle. Yeah, imagine. Reading the laws, reading the Constitution. Which is not very long, by the way. You guys could read the Constitution. It doesn't take that long. The laws were read by a few senators. How would I flip that around? A few senators read the laws. Awesome. A few senators read the laws. So that's what we're aiming for. How do we get there? So think about what declension this adjective is. If its ablative is paucis, yeah, it's got to be pauci. Pauci senatores. A few senators, or senatores pauci. Pauci senatores. Legebant, right? It's still going to be third plural because we went from the laws, they, to the senators, they. So it's still third plural. And then what case of the law is going to be? Leges, right? Accusative. So for third declension, nominative plural, accusative plural, they look exactly the same. Sicut doesn't really take... It either introduces, Maddie, a new clause, or it's the same case as the word that it's being compared to. Yeah. So if you were saying he walks like a pig, he is nominative, so pig would also be nominative. And let's do one more of these. Because I want to get some other persons and numbers in here. Oops. A malum librum. Yeah, there are certain... I've got it set to a pretty high filter. So if any part of a word has a particularly choice English word, I will allow them, though. I just haven't had a chance to... There you go. So what is my original sentence here? Oh... This is sounding like a Yoda translation. Numquam means never, by the way. Oh no, we're not looking at our verb endings? So do I always say, former students, I'll know everything I need to know based on your first word of your translation. I. Yeah, I'll change it to future. I like it better in the future. I just called an audible there. I will never write a bad book. Yeah, if it were imperfect, it would be skribebam. But this is future. Am set skribam. So now in English, how am I going to twist it around? All right, Jaden, take it easy. Sounds good. Fuadaltera Skywalker. See you, Jaden. Still waiting for my English here to be twisty-twistied. I will never write a bad book. Oh, I see you, Tegan. Sorry, I missed it. A bad book will never be written by me. A lot of chats coming in. So that's my target. How do I do that? A bad book I will never write. Yeah, it's a perfect, it's a fine translation, just sounds a little wonky. You probably say like, a bad book never will I write. All right, how am I going to do this? Oh, don't ask me the stem of numquam. Numquam just is numquam. Numquam just means never. Don't mess with it. Libus. Libros. Oh. Vocabulary, children. What is the word for a book? A libros. Oh boy. En español, en italiano, ma latino, liber. Liber. And how do I describe it as a bad book? What kind of book? Mala libra would be a bad scale. A libra is a scale. Yeah, we want malus. Malus liber. Not malum. Right, we need nominative, and it is, a book is masculine. Malus liber. A me, nice, by me. Numquam will never. Now I need a verb. And Zubair, I saw you do the thing that we don't do, which is just simply change the ending from one thing to another. We don't do that. We think about what the new subject is. I am not the subject anymore. A bad book is the subject. Rowan, you are very close. We only use for first person. The A is only for first person. Remember, the pattern is ace et. So it's not scribator, unless it were subjunctive, and we're not going down that road. What vowel is going to be in there? Scrib. No, scribator. Right, so if I asked you guys to conjugate this verb, there we go, right? Scribator. Third conjugation is kind of a weird pattern in the future, right? We got scribam, scribase, scribet, scribemus, scribetus, scribent. That's what future looks like. So when you do passive, right, you would get scribar, which you're never really going to say, I will be written. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Scriberis, scribator, scribemur, scribemini, and scribentor. Now, those are the forms. Imperfect would be scribebus. I know it's going to throw you off. These forms, yeah, I can make them by plugging in my endings, but honestly, are you ever going to see I will be written? No. Is this some book telling you a story? You will be written? Am I talking directly to a book and saying, hey, book, don't worry, one day you'll be written? No. So really, some verbs really are you're only going to see them in the passive, third person singular, third person plural. Sometimes those are the only ones that exist in practical terms. So the bad book, a bad book, will never be written by me. Numquam acts like non, right? Non just means not, and it doesn't really change. Numquam, never. Those little adverbs, you don't mess with those. Yeah, there are a lot of verbs that have B's in the stem. We just get used to it. So we did some active to passive. We did some noun adjective pairs. I didn't really do much translation in yesterday's video. Do we want to look at a couple of sentences and go that route for our last? All right, the yeses have it. So let me pull this up. Let's change my window capture to... Oh, I would love to pull up some Ovid. You know it. Resize my window here a little bit. It's hard to do when it's not a Word document. Yeah, sure. We could do it that way. Actually, what I need to do is this. It's hard for me to get everything in one, so my apologies. You go away. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Almost there. So this book, which is great, called Latina Mythica. Scroll over here. There we go. We're rocking and rolling. So grammar-wise, this is where we're at, essentially. So, nunc, which means now, Saturnus in caelo regnabat. That's a sentence. It's got a subject, it's got a verb, it's got a prep phrase. I'm happy with that. Okay? Not rules. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to the verb tenses. You could say used to rule. You could say was ruling. Yeah. And I know it sounds weird to say now and use a past tense, but the idea here is that the whole story is taking place in the past, right? So blah, 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 blah. Things are happening, and now Saturn was ruling in the sky. Yeah, at that point in the story. Soror ops, rea in lingua graeca vocabatur, little passive verb, erat uxor reginaque. So soror, his sister, ops, that's her name, ops. But rea in lingua graeca vocabatur. Yeah, 2:30 to 3:30. That was yesterday's mark, I think. Yeah. Was called Rhea in the Greek language. Right. Erat uxor reginaque. So his sister Ops, who was called Rhea in Greek, erat uxor reginaque. Uxor is a word we can translate. It's a family word. It's going to feel weird because we've just established that it's his sister. but she was also his uxor. Wife and queen, right? Que means and. Right? Queen consort. His sister, Ops, was his wife and the queen. So at this stage of mythological history, Saturn and his wife, Ops, or you might know them as Kronos and Rhea, they are in charge. Gaia magnum arcanum Saturno naravit. Now, naravit is a perfect verb. We haven't done these yet, but just treat it as narabat. It's the same as narabat, essentially. So, Gaia magnum arcanum Saturno naravit. Now, there are going to be situations where you don't know what every word means. You might not know what this word arcanum means, but you should know where it goes, what it's doing in the sentence. So what does the sentence say? Gaia told, right? That's what narawit means, narabat. Told Saturn, or told to Saturn, a magnum arcanum, a secret story. I'm thinking they're going for like prophecy here. A secret, yeah. A great secret. Anything arcane is secret, right? So grammar-wise, you have your subject, Gaia. You have your verb, narawit, narabat. You have your direct object, magnum arcanum. And what case is Saturno? It is perfect tense, but I've already said, don't worry about that. I'm not going to put perfect tense on there. Just pretend it's narabat. It is in the dative case because we're telling a story, or in this case, telling a secret to someone. Gaia told a great secret to Saturnus, right, to Saturn. So sometimes when you're reading a story, you look at an ending and you're like, could be dative, could be ablative. You know, in a chart, sure, but in a sentence, it's got to be one of them, right? And what is that great secret? Nobody typing in the chat just yet. Unus filiorum te superabit. Supero means to defeat or overcome. Et tum, then, regnum habebit. So don't type it in the chat just yet. I'm going to give everybody 60 seconds. Unus fil... What did I say? What did I just say? Are you guys listening? Well, it's not a perfect translation, so don't type anything yet. Unus filiorum te superabit et tum regnum habebit. All right, now you can start throwing things in the chat. Unus filiorum te superabit. One of your sons, unus filiorum, so genitive, one of your sons, te superabit, will defeat you. Right? There's that te, those little words that we're struggling with recently. One of your sons will defeat you, and then he will have the kingdom. Yeah, and then he will have power. He will have rule, essentially. So Gaia is telling Saturn, one of your kids is going to up and kill you and steal your throne. Fair enough. Saturnus igitur, therefore, filios suos timebat et consilium cogitabat. Oh, it's an incredibly dysfunctional family. That's about as simple as a sentence gets. Subject, direct object, verb. And direct object, verb. Right? So when these sentences get longer, that doesn't necessarily mean they're getting more complicated. It's just more information, more sentence. Therefore, Saturn feared his sons, T-Mabot. He was afraid of his kids. And cogitare consilium. Yeah, he thought up. Think about like cognitive, cogitate, all those words that have to do with thinking. And a consilium is a plan. He thought up a plan. Nobody type anything in the chat in terms of translations. And I know you're on a lag, so I'm going to hopefully. This next sentence tells me a lot about you as a Latin student. Meos filios vorabo. Voro means to devour, to eat. Tum me non superabunt. This is going to really test if you are getting it, which is to say, are you looking at your verb and thinking about the ending? So how am I going to translate meos filios vorabo? Oops. I can't highlight it, unfortunately. I wish I could, but the PDF is really weird. Meos filios vorabo tum me non superabunt. I vorabo. Excellent, excellent. I see eyes all the way down. I will devour my sons. Meos filios, my children, essentially. He eats his sons and his daughters. I will eat my children, and then they will not defeat me. Now, it'd be very easy for you to see that meh and think that the next sentence has I for the subject, but the verb has the they ending, right? Superabunt. They will not defeat me. They will not overcome me. Let me see if anybody's waiting for me because I got a 3:30 with my pros kids. I got one pros kid waiting for me. I'll be right there, Anna, just finishing up with the 8th graders.
Sounds good.
I love the internet. Let's do one more sentence. Quotiens, every time. That's what quotiens means. Every time ops infantem generabat, Saturnus infantem vorabat. Voravit, vorabat means the same thing. Every time ops infantem generabat, Saturnus infantem voravit. Yeah, every time ops generated an infant, every time ops, make sure you keep it active though. Every time ops created a child, Saturn ate the child. Essentially. And again, keep your translations close to the Latin. Ops infantem, infantem's the direct object. Every time she had a child, Saturn ate the child. All right, if you guys want to keep on, keep on keeping on, if you want to keep reading, you guys can all, if you want, jump in the Discord. You can go in the Latin 8 channel. I can give you guys this story if that's what you want. Otherwise, I'm gonna cut it here, and I'm going to work with my big kids, my medium kids. I got big kids in the room. I got you kids, lots of kids. Yeah, I think I can post this. I can probably put it in the Discord. I'll work on that. I'll figure out a way to get it to you guys. But thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to cut it here. It'll take me a little while to cut the video, so the video VOD will be available at like 5, something like that. It was my pleasure, guys. Thank you guys so much, as always, for coming. Yeah, story gets weirder from here.